I've been using this John Deere 49 Snowthrower all season and it's ready for some maintenance. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything that I do to maintain this Snowthrower. If you wait till later in the video, I got a special tool that really makes maintenance easy, so stick around. So for me, it's the end of the season right now, and that's when I'm choosing to do the maintenance on my Snowthrower. But this could also be done before the season or even during the season. Whenever you want to do it is fine. I like to do my maintenance after the season because through the winter, this thing is getting full of snow and getting wet and dry and wet and cool and hot and all that. So before I take this off and put it into storage, I like to just make sure everything is nice and lubed up so nothing gets seized or stuck or just cruddy, anything. You know, make sure that everything is just properly lubricated and all nice and fresh before I put it away. So I know that nothing's gonna go wrong during the summer while it's sitting and it'll be ready for me next winter. First thing I like to do is grease around the base of the chute here, so that requires taking the chute off. Got to make sure that you note the routing of your cables here. I'm not sure exactly how they're supposed to be routed. Mine was kind of messed up when I first got it, so I just routed it in a way that worked for me. So hopefully I have it right here, but it's been working, so. All right, the chute is held on by this plate right here that goes up underneath here and kind of sandwiches the chute to the base. And then behind it is this threaded backer plate. That's where the bolts thread into. And then it's the same thing on the other side. You got the bolts here. This is a wire running up to my actuator up here. Yours might not have that, so that might not be something you need to worry about, but we'll get that plate taken off on this side too. I do have a question. If you know the answer, you can let me know in the comments. Is the cable supposed to run under the chute like that, or is there a way that I can route it so it stays out of that? I don't think it hurts anything running under there. It just seems wrong to me, but maybe it's right. And then I have my cable running in between these like that underneath there and then sandwiched in between there. So once again, not sure if that's right. That just seemed right to me. Now we can get the cable out from there. And then this should just lift off. I'm just gonna set mine aside real close here because I have that actuator on there and I don't want to disconnect that. So you can see here it's really dry and kind of rusty. So I'm just gonna take some brake cleaner and Scotch-Brite and just kind of rub around there and make sure that I get this kind of as clean as possible. Try not to get the cables in the wrong spot. And then just wipe it clean. And then we'll go ahead and check out the base of the chute itself here too. So the base of the chute has these raised areas in here, and that's what rides against the base here. So that's what we just need to clean those up a little bit. Just make sure there's no old grease on there or anything that might not make it work as nice. And then also this very bottom edge rides on there too, so. Just kind of make everything as clean as possible, just kind of starting from new. And then I'm not really too picky on the grease that I use here. I just have some of this suspension chassis style grease here, so that's what I'll be using on this one. So you just kind of put it on the wear areas. I can see on mine where the paint's missing is where it's riding on, so I'll just concentrate on those areas. And this is really gonna help out while this is sitting all summer, so this won't get stuck onto this base or, you know, rust into place at all. So that should be good for the chute, and now we'll just put just a thin layer on the base here. Right. Now we can go ahead and put the chute back up into place. And you can see how much nicer that spins on there. Now I'll just go ahead and get this chute all put back together. You want to just go ahead and put a little grease on these backing plates too, because it'll slide along that as well. And then you could go ahead and separate in here too and get greased up in there, but I don't really feel like that's super important, so I just like to go ahead and just put some WD-40 or some sort of lubricant onto the teeth here. And I'll just go ahead and run the chute through its full motion to make sure everything is still working properly. That looks great. On to the next step. From what I've read, this part might be a little controversial. There's people that think that this should just be gear oil, and some people that think it should be corn head grease. I am on the corn head grease side, which means that this gear is really not a typically serviced part. Corn head grease is really meant to be a non-serviceable style of grease where it's just contained in this box at all times. So unless you have a hole in this cover here where you'd be adding oil to, this is not a typical service of this machine. Since mine does not have the hole here, it's actually just supposed to be a non-maintenance part. But I am going to open this up and check out the grease inside. Since this Snowthrower is pretty old and it's been used a lot, I do want to check out the state of the grease in here and refresh it. So please let me know down in the comments what your feelings are on that. I know there are people that just drill a hole in the top of the box here and then tap it and put a plug in there, and then they just use that to put oil in there to service this, but I just want to replace the corn head grease in there. So to get in there, it's just these 4 3/8 inch bolts on there. So you can see on that lid there, that is actually pretty gummed up. It's actually not too bad. I thought it was dirtier looking than it is, but it's probably still pretty good actually. But I'm glad I pulled that off so I could see what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that all up. So you can see in there, it does actually look like that grease is broken down pretty good. It is all over here. You can see it's up on the top there. So it was still getting lubrication into the gears where it needed to, but I do feel better that I am taking this off and replacing all that grease in there. I went ahead and got the lid all cleaned up there. It does have this cork gasket here that should probably be replaced, but I forgot to order that, so I'm going to reuse it. I'm going to go ahead and get the grease cleaned out of this gear set here. It might be a little bit hard to film, but I'll try to get as much as I can. I just laid a stainless steel serving tray down there to catch everything, and now I'm just going to take some brake cleaner and try and blast everything out of there. Alright, I was able to get it pretty clean up in there. That is not a fun job, but it's pretty necessary, so it is what it is. But now we can go ahead and get our grease. Here's the grease I'll be using. That's John Deere Cornhead grease. The part number is AN102562. I'm sure that a grease gun is a more suitable way to get this job done, but I'm just going to try and do this by hand. I know you just want to get enough on there to cover the gears. This stuff becomes kind of a liquid when it gets warmer, more like a gear oil consistency. So you do want to give it space to have some air space in there. I'm sure this would be easier with the snow thrower off of the tractor also, but I'm not really known for doing things the easy way. So I'm just going to try and do it with it on the tractor. Now I think I have enough in there, so I'm just going to make sure I push it into all the cogs on the gears. And once again, please tell me in the comments what your opinion of this is, and also tell me the better way to get this grease in here, because I know there's got to be a better way. But that's actually looking like I got it pretty covered. So one little dry spot on the smaller gear here. Go ahead and rotate the gears around here. Yeah, you can see some of the old grease that I didn't get out of there. Now go ahead and just clean up the gasket surface. And if you couldn't tell, this is definitely not something I have any expertise on, so once again, any helpful comments would be awesome. All right, we have our gasket that should have been replaced but isn't going to be back in place. I'm going to put a bolt in place right there to hold the gasket in place while I'm maneuvering the cover into place. What? Oh. And now those gears should be good for a couple more years. Of course, I'll run it and make sure that that's not leaking. If I have a leak, I'll order a new gasket for that. And I'll probably just check it every year just to make sure that that grease is looking good. But that really should be good for a long time now. Our last piece of maintenance is to get the chain lubed up. So just got to get this cover off. Just like that. Remember in the beginning of the video I had a special tool to show you? Well, that is this chain maintenance and cleaning tool. This is really cool. I'll show you how it works right here. So first you're going to want to use the brush tool with some sort of a degreaser. You just put the brush right on the degreaser bottle, held on by that elastic right there. And then you can go ahead and put on the hose, and that will go right down into that hole right there. And it comes with that straw, specially made for this here, so it's the right length. And now you can just place that right on the chain, and then just go ahead and work the chain through there. You just want to give it a spritz every once in a while. Kind of in a bad position to move this chain right now, but my chain is brand new. I just put this chain on here in my last video. I'll link that video right here if you're watching on mobile. So this chain really doesn't need to be clean, but I wanted to show how this worked. So yeah, you'll just go through and just give your chain a really nice scrubbing. And then I'll just go ahead and wipe the chain down. Now you can go ahead and grab your chain lube. Snap the piece without the brush on it on there. Wrap that elastic around there. And then you can go ahead and get the straw positioned in there. And I am actually using the straw from the chain lube, so just to show you that it will work with any straw that comes with these cans too. I'm going to go from the front here so I can work the auger to move this as I go, so try not to get in your way. You just place the part over the chain like that, and then you can just go ahead and oil that as you rotate the chain there. Try and give you a better look here. And that's all there is to it. Now the chain is nice and clean and lubed, and it was super easy with this, and it didn't make a big mess. It just sprays the oil right onto the chain where you need it. It doesn't spray all over everything else. So this thing is really cool, and it's also going to work for motorcycles if you're a motorcycle owner too. So double duty on that tool. That's always nice. And then just a couple last things to check while we're in here. You want to make sure that your idler or tension sprocket is still in the right position. So you want about 3/16 to a half an inch of play in your chain right here. So I just like to take a tape measure and get it lined up like the bottom of this chain right here is at 4.5 inches. And if I push that all the way up, it goes to about 4 7/8. So I have about 3/8 of movement there, which is perfectly within spec. If you have more than a half an inch, you want to just make sure that you get your tensioner pushed down a little bit. If your tensioner is as tight as it goes, then you're either going to have to replace your chain or take a link out. So that's in spec. And then one last thing I like to check while I'm in here is to make sure that your skid shoes are still in a good position. I just replaced these. They were a metal style and I replaced them with this composite style, so I know that they're set correctly because they need to be all the way up into their position here. To judge where you want your skid shoes to be placed, you want to look at the measurement of your scraper blade right here. If you're running on pavement, you want that to be like a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch off the ground. If you're using this on gravel, it's going to be more like a half an inch, maybe up to 3/4 of an inch there. Mine's a little bit high for what I'm using it for, but like I said, I just replaced those skid shoes, so we're all good. So that is it for the maintenance for my snow thrower here. Now I can put it away safely for the rest of the year, and I know it's going to be ready for me next winter. I've got this playlist right here if you want to see anything more that I've done to my 49 snow thrower. If you enjoyed the video or if you feel like you learned something, please hit that like button. And I got a ton more planned to do with these tractors, so if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.